Well, hey everyone, welcome to this week's edition of First Pour. Flying solo today for a couple of reasons. Number one, I hope today's message will be challenging, it'll be encouraging, and hopefully a third dose of motivating for you as well too. I want to first take a little bit, just one quick moment, just to say thank you to all of those of you who approached me after this weekend's services, after the message. So many of you came up to me after service. Some of you came up and offered to pray with me and over me. Some of you sent me messages and notes this week of just that moment of vulnerability, if you will. Some I'm not really keen to do, but something that I've been walking through in my own personal faith and journey with Jesus. I'm not perfect. I don't have this figured out. Sometimes I feel a pressure to, and so just want to say thank you to you guys as a church for supporting me in that. And it was so awesome, such a blessing. If you had missed last week's service, you can follow up on that. You can go to our YouTube or Facebook or website. You can catch up on that message. But I want to talk about something that is somewhat of a follow-up of this idea of living life in faith is hard. Being a Christian is not easy because it requires an uncommon way of living life. I recently heard this quote that's been challenging me as I've learned to grow tougher, to develop more tenacity and strength, not just spiritually, but mentally and physically and emotionally as well too. And it's this: it's that if you do what is easy, life will feel hard. But if you do what is hard, life will feel easy. And I think that's so true because if you do what is easy in life, we begin to feel pressures, we begin to make excuses, we begin to play the victim in some areas in life, and we begin to think life is hard. If we pursue only that which is easy or comfortable, when the waves and the seasons and the storms and the uncommonness of life come our way, then we begin to kind of freak out. We begin to figure out what's wrong with me, what's going on here, when reality says life is anything but easy. Embrace the uneasiness. Embrace the uncommon. Do what is hard, uncomfortable. And that's where you will learn to find out that life can be easy, or begin to feel easy. And that's faith. I think faith is so much doing what is uncomfortable, doing what is different from the rest of the world, stretching yourself to take that next step, and that as you do that, living that life of faith becomes that much easier because you have strengthened yourself to do it. It reminds me of what Jesus said in Matthew chapter 7, verses 13 and 14, in which he says, "Enter through the narrow gate. For the wide gate is broad, is the road that leads to destruction, and many enter through it. But small is the gate, and narrow the road that leads to life, and only a few find it." AKA, a genuine life of faith is not a road traveled by many. That a genuine life of faith is hard because that road is narrow. It is not easily trodden down with other people. And I think so many of us have this thought that, well, life ought to be easy. Faith ought to make life easier. I should never have any problems or difficulties. We want the wide road because we want to live life how we want. We want to live life how we see fit, how we think, going with our emotions or our feelings or following our heart. We'll also kind of maybe say, and look, there's wide. There's enough room for God to fit on here too. And Jesus says, no. If you want to come after me, if you want to be my disciple, you're going to have to live differently. You're going to have to do hard things in this life. I don't think it's any surprise that the word disciple and the word discipline seem to be virtually synonymous. Jesus said, "Want to be my disciple? Pick up your cross, do what is hard, do what is difficult," and he says, but do it daily. That the uncommon has to become common. That the uncommon has to become regular in our life as disciples. That's because we need to push forward, especially when we don't feel like it. Faith is a commitment. Commitment is a choice. It is not a feeling. I say this all the time to couples when I do premarital counseling. I said, feelings are real, but they're not reality. Because there's many times in which you don't feel like loving your spouse. There are many times where maybe you don't feel like going to work. There are many times where you don't feel like being present with your kids. But at the end of the day, it is a binary choice. You either do it or you don't. You either say yes or no. You're either all in or not at all. The easy road says just go with what you feel like and don't do what you don't feel like doing. Don't do what is hard or challenging or convicting. I don't feel like saving myself for marriage. I don't feel like tithing. I don't feel like being gentle. I don't feel like trusting God fully with the direction of my life. I don't feel like reading my Bible. I don't feel like going to Him in prayer yet again. Yet we have this toxic society that has told us this lie, that your feelings are ultimately truth. And our truth in Scripture says that's actually not the case. Our hearts are deceitful and wicked. Above all else, they lead us astray. Our feelings lead us astray. We feel like sleeping in when we should get up, turn the alarm off, and go work out. We feel like eating a third or fourth donut when one is probably enough. We feel like lashing out in anger when kindness and gentleness and patience and humility is the choice. We feel like watching TV more and more and more when we know the commitment says, hey, have you opened your word? Have you spent time with Jesus today? I've been learning that our spirit is a muscle. Just like our bodies, just like our minds, just like our hearts. I believe our spirit is a muscle. And you know how you strengthen a muscle is you strain it to the point. It has to go through pain, but then it heals back even stronger. That as you work out, what you're actually doing is creating micro tears in your biceps, in your triceps, in your quadriceps. And as those tears happen, they actually grow back stronger. We need to strain in order to become stronger. We need to strain as men in order to become stronger men. We need to strain as husbands in order to become better husbands. We need to strain as mothers, as wives, as sons, as daughters, and collectively as a church, we need to strain in order to grow stronger. Because think about the opposite with muscles. When you don't work them out, when you don't use them, when you just do what is easy or comfortable, they get lazy. They get weak. They get comfortable. And then when the need to strain or be stronger comes, they're not ready and they're not prepared. And that's what I want to hopefully challenge and encourage and motivate you with this week. Think about this. If what you do is easy, life will feel hard. But if you do what is hard, if you strain, if you work out, if you get to the point of pain and take one more step, each and every time you take a step beyond that threshold, what was the foundation becomes something even further in the past. If we do what is easy, life will feel hard. But if we pursue that which is hard, life will begin to feel easy. And that life includes our life of faith. Thanks for joining us this week. We'll see you.